Facts don't care about feelings. Yet, in this modern day of outrage culture, what we're seeing is a disease in thinking, where feelings are taking precedence over sound judgment and critical thinking. So how do you rise up above this epidemic of negativity so you can put yourself in a position where you're no longer bullied by other people's feelings and you're no longer bullied by your own feelings, so you can be clear and more effective in what you do? That's what we're going to take a look at today. Coming up. Welcome to the Power of Quiet, helping you uncover the truth about who and what you really are, so you can open the door to having more happiness, more abundance, more peace, and rock-solid imperturbability in your life. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification, because what we do here on this channel is take a practical and provable approach to uncovering your greatness. Now, it's an interesting phenomena that we're living in the world today. And this phenomena is something that's been growing over the past couple of decades called social justice, where we have these few loud individuals that are making a lot of noise about what everybody should say, what they should think, how they should feel, all for the purpose of not offending somebody. But when I grew up, we had this expression called, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me." Now, here's the thing. Is that completely true? I mean, if I went down to the store and I looked at the person behind the counter, I said, "You are an effing idiot. F you." What do you think is going to happen? I'll have a fight on my hands. Why? I mean, I'm just throwing words at the other person. But words have energy. They can trigger someone to cause a reaction. But here's the thing. If somebody gets triggered, if somebody feels bad because of something I say, is that my responsibility or is it them? And that's the problem with where these people are coming from. They're blaming others for how they feel, and they're really giving their power away. Now, these social justice warriors that we see demonstrating and making all this noise, rioting and all this stuff, they're an extreme example of something that is going on in all of us, because we all have, to some degree, this tendency of blaming others for how we feel. I mean, even if it's like our significant other, our spouse, "Oh, they made me angry," or "They made me upset." And it may not be as extreme as these SJWs, but it's really coming from the same place. So what I want to do here on this video is really uncover the truth about what feelings are. And also, I want to point out one of the big arguments that are laid against these SJWs that says, you know what? Facts don't care about your feelings. And this is such a great statement. And what we're actually going to do is really get to some facts about what feelings are about, so that we can actually be more intelligent over our feelings, be in charge of them, and rise up to a higher consciousness so that we can act clearly and be a more positive influence, not only in our own life, but in the whole world. All right, so let's examine these feelings. Now, to do so, let's take a look at the mind. Now, if you really look at the mind, it operates just like a computer. And just like a computer, garbage in, garbage out. If you have a virus in your computer and you don't remove the virus, it doesn't matter what sorts of programs or information that you put into that computer. It won't operate correctly until you take the virus out. And it's the same thing with our feelings. The mind works the same way. You see, our whole life, when things happen to us that we didn't like, We pushed down our feelings, didn't we? Like, even when we were a little kid, our mother told us to eat our Brussels sprouts. We're like, ugh, I don't want to. Or do your homework. You can't go outside and play. We fought. We suppressed our feelings. And every time we did that, we started to collect them. And we've been doing that our whole life. And that's why it seems the older that we get, the heavier we become, the more burdened by all these thoughts and feelings. But here's the thing. Who's in charge here? Who's doing it? If the mind is a computer, who's the programmer? Who's the owner and operator? We are. So, if we take responsibility now, and if we put in these feelings, then maybe we can remove them. We can remove these triggers that get us acting and talking in ways that really we don't mean to, except when we get run by emotions. Then we're just on automatic. All right? So, now we can see that feelings are just like a program, an automatic trigger response mechanism. There really is no clarity in it. And if feelings are something that we've been collecting our whole life, if they get triggered, see, like in this now moment, if somebody said something that makes me feel bad, where's that feeling coming from? It's coming from the past, isn't it? Somebody in the now, in this present moment, is saying something. It's stirring up a feeling of something that I suppressed from the past. That's what gets triggered, right? So if feelings are from the past, then they really have no place in the now. They cloud our ability to see what is really true now. And they cloud our ability to discriminate and take a clear action, a positive action. Plus, if a feeling is something that's from the past, then how real can it be? It's just a feeling. It's in the past. It's something that gets triggered. It's not relevant completely to what's happening now. How real can it be? And after all, have you ever met a feeling? Have you ever met anger? Now, you may have met somebody acting out in anger or acting out in grief or something, but the feeling itself, you can't really put a finger on, doesn't have a body. Who's to say that it's even real? Now, this is something that we can prove to ourselves. Now, I'm going to show you how you have a natural ability to just let the feeling go right on the spot. I'll show you in a little bit. But first, let's just examine a little bit more about what these feelings are all about and what happens if you're to let these feelings go, these feelings that are suppressed and that get triggered. And let's just take an example like frustration. All right? Now, you can look at times when you got frustrated. And when that frustration came up, it actually got in your way. It even got you to even sabotage what was going on in your life because of that frustration. Maybe you shot your mouth off, or you took some sort of action that you later regretted because that feeling took over. But if you're able to let go of that frustration, where it's just no longer there, what would you be left with? And if that same situation happened, but frustration didn't get triggered, how would you respond? You would be like more neutral, more clear, and you could take an action that makes sense. You could see things as they really are. So once you take out the feeling, you start to see truth and act in a truthful way. Now, you might be thinking, well, wait a minute. Some feelings are good. Feelings are valuable. If I didn't have feelings, I would be like a robot. I would be emotionless. I wouldn't be able to relate to people. So I kind of need them, don't I? Now, in a moment, I'm going to show you the answer to this. Because here's the real truth, is that when you let go of all these feelings, and I'm talking about like fear and anger, and even grief, and feelings like lust, and even pride, when all these feelings are just out of the way, what shows up is something that is extremely positive, extremely loving. And it's a natural state that is our true self, a state that has been covered up by all of these feelings. And the truth is, inside of every single person on this planet, even the most despicable and evil people, inside of them, covered up by all that despicableness, those feelings, is that same loving presence. And if all of us would just let go of what's been covering up this inner love inside of us, it would just flow out effortlessly. And this is something that is just awesome and great. And it shows up once we rise above the feelings. And also what you'll discover is that when you do let go of the feelings, you don't lose the ability to express feelings or indulge in them. The difference is that you are in control of the feelings. You're no longer run by them. Now, I know this all sounds well and good, and it might sound a little far-fetched, but here's the thing. What we do here on this channel is actually provable. So just follow along. I'm going to show you how this works. All right? So think about something that frustrates you. You got something that frustrates you. Maybe it's a person. Maybe it's a situation. All right? You got something in mind? Now, when you think about this situation, this thing that frustrates you, notice that feeling of frustration. You feel it? Get in touch with that frustration. And measure this frustration on a scale of 0 to 10. 10 being the most frustrated and 0 being the least frustrated. Just see where you're at. All right? Now notice, when this feeling of frustration comes up, there's a tendency to want to say no to that frustration because we don't like the feeling, right? When that frustration comes up, you literally look at it and you say no to that frustration, right? You don't like it, do you? Now, when you say no to that frustration, does that make the frustration go away? It doesn't, does it? In fact, when you say no to that frustration, what happens? It just makes that frustration build up even stronger, doesn't it? So saying no to that frustration doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, then let's try something radically different. Are you willing to try something radically different? All right? So look at that frustration right now, whatever number that you assign to it, between 0 and 10. And look at that frustration. Now, instead of saying no to it, look at it and say yes to it. Just say yes to that frustration. Try it out. And it's really simple. Just 3 simple letters, Y-E-S. Just look at that frustration, say yes to it. And say yes to it a little bit more. And say yes to it a little bit more. And say yes to it even more. And even more. And say yes to that frustration even more. And even more. And even more. And even more. Now, measure yourself again on that scale of 0 to 10 and see if you moved. Notice a difference? Notice if you feel a little bit lighter? And that's all we're looking for. It's just a lighter feeling. And it's showing us that we're moving in the right direction now. Now, wherever you are with that frustration, let's kick it up a notch. Look right at that frustration now and say to it, I love you, frustration. Now, this might sound silly, but try it. I love you. I love you, frustration. I really, really love you. I love you. I love you unconditionally. I really, really love you. And measure yourself again. See if you moved even further. Notice the difference? And notice that lighter feeling. All right? Now, we're got some momentum going. And we're moving forward a little bit here. So let's now welcome up the rest of that frustration. Invite up the rest. You see, you got some energy moving now. Call up the rest of that frustration. Now open up an imaginary window or door just right in front of you. And imagine that frustration come in. It's just a feeling. Welcome it up. And imagine it going right on out that door. Just open up, wide open. And let that frustration leave. And welcome up that frustration even more. And even more. And just let it leave. It's just a feeling. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just a feeling passing through. Just a sensation, a phenomena, that's all. Let go of placing any value on it. Let go of that story that you have about it. Just a feeling. Open up and let it leave. And even more. And even more. And even more. And just open up and let it leave even more. And notice, the more you just allow it to arise, it just comes up and it leaves all on its own. And that shows you that all of these feelings, the frustration, fear, everything, all of these feelings, they want to leave. They've been wanting to leave ever since we started to suppress them. But we've been holding them down all this time because we've been saying no to them. We've been saying, no, feelings are bad. And when we suppress them like this, we collect them. And then somebody comes along, they trigger these feelings. They are there. And because we don't like them, when they get triggered, we're bothered. And then we go blame the other person. But now we see we are the owner. We are the operator. And this is our opportunity to take responsibility for ourselves, for our own happiness, for our own abundance. And we can now prove to ourselves that we can have, do, and be anything that we want. And when we let go of these feelings, notice that lighter feeling that came up, right? That lighter sensation after you let go of some of that frustration. That is that love, that pure essence that is your real nature. And this part of you has no limitation at all. From this part of you, you can achieve anything. And there's no fight, no struggle with anybody else. If we can learn to really do this and show others that we all can do this, this is how we make the world a better place. This is how we can all come into harmony. So if this resonates with you, if you feel a difference, remember what I said, everything here is provable. Everything that we do here is experiential. So you don't have to believe me. Just take your own experience. And if this works for you, then again, subscribe to this channel, because everything we do is about uncovering this inner truth. And if this resonates with you, and you know others who would also resonate with this, please share this video, because this is how we can really start to make a positive shift in the whole world and get us all truly working together. All right? So thanks for joining me. Thanks for participating, and I'll see you soon.